Mr. Tony Moze. How are you doing today, sir?
How you doing?
So we're currently live on
Wonderful.
Facebook, live on YouTube, and I'm pretty excited for this interview. Like,
Wonderful.
minus a little technical glitches that we just had, and worked through those in an always upward fashion. I really have been looking forward to collaborating with you for at least a few months now, and we've been doing a lot of stuff together. We've had our mastermind or accountability group. We've been doing a lot of engaging and supporting on Instagram. But then we found that we're both creative type people. We both like helping people level up and express and share a message. And as I got to know you more and more, it was just kind of like, wow, a rhyming book reviewer. If I was a kid and I saw a book by this guy, I'd probably be a little bit more inclined to that. But before we jump in and share all the goodies of everything, I just want to welcome everyone who's joining us today. It is episode number 2, and it nearly didn't happen this week because had a guest kind of fall out. Also ended up in kind of a little bit of a, I guess, holiday funk. But all in all, I was pretty excited to push through all of that and kind of go through what this show is all about. How do we level up? How do we get to that next stage when you have so many things that are going against you? That last 10%, or the longest yard, as I like to call it. So Tony, now you're in the hot seat. Now we're going to be talking about, how did you become a rhyming book reviewer? Like, you start at age 9, but a lot happened between then and now. Let's break that down.
All right. So within nine years old, I'm going to turn this down because I can hear echo on myself. Can you hear me, by the way? Just give me a thumbs up. Because every time I talk, I just hear echo. It's okay. So I just turn it down every time I talk. So what happened between 9 years and now is the question.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say start first. Born in New York, went to a performing arts school. At the age of 6. So that's when I started. It wasn't until 9 that the whole trajectory of music and acting and reading books started to come into play. And then from that year, from age 9, when I started getting full force into it, I just started building momentum with that. And I've had a lot of an affinity for music, acting, and reading books. And during that time, I was living with my dad. My parents were divorced at 9. I lived with my dad in Yonkers, New York. They were once together owning a business. They owned it out of a 1-bedroom apartment. My mother had a nail. She was a real big entrepreneur. She actually got my dad into. She motivated him into be and inspired him.
Nice.
So, running a nail salon business, housekeeping business, and a pest control business out of our 1-bedroom. We're running, the whole show out of a 1-bedroom apartment in Yonkers, New York. And that's the year my divorce. So a lot of things happened with that there. I lived with my dad. Didn't really do much. I was roaming around the streets all the way till age 12, just because my dad wasn't around. He wasn't really supportive. He was more interested in himself. Spending his money on suits, shoes, and traveling, and getting with different chicks at a time. Because hey, he's divorced. He's about 35 years old. He's doing his thing. But here I am roaming around New York, and finally it took someone from around the neighborhood to say, like, I see so much potential in your son. So that's my mother. He's like ahead of the class, smart. He's the most literate kid, and I hate saying that out loud, but like kids were always the ones saying, like, yo, go to Tony, man. He knows how to read. He can teach you how to read. He can teach you some things. For being literate in a place where not many people were literate,
right?
It was like a big thing. Like, you were considered as very intelligent. You were a smart person. Like, I believe knowledge is power. As long as you can use it it would be you can go exponentially far. You can go towards your longest yard and even get to that point and pass.
Right.
And with my parents, moved with my mother and stepdad. We moved into Connecticut. I got to concert and marching band. I didn't act at that time. It was a long hiatus about maybe recently I started getting back into plays and theater and everything like that. But I kept my, as I was saying, hip hop years in the streets, going to theater shows, watching movies, studying that. So I was on the passing, but it was still in my blood. Still doing music videos, acting, in music videos and whatnot. And in between that time, still like we're still going into this at the age of 17. After I graduated from Torrington High School in Connecticut, I joined the Army, United States Army Reserve. And this was before I even turned 18, before I was even the legal age. My mother was like, because you're divorced and you're out the street, that troublesome, angry child. That was in me, all the way from when I was 9, all the way till I graduated high school.
Wow.
And I'm still carrying the chip on my shoulder, angry. I was picked on a lot. When I was in elementary school in New York, I was a kid. The Gump every time when I got on the bus. Nobody would let me sit there. They're like, no, sorry, he's taking, and I would be the kid that every ride to school, I'd be in the middle of the aisle, just standing there looking dumb because I was they would pick on. And I carried this on my shoulder, angry, and get into trouble. Fortunately, I started getting a little bit better once I moved out of the environment I was in. But still, like things needed shaking up. And I listened to the United States Army, went to college, still had the same personality. It's still in me to be very energetic, still do, to be very boisterous and loud. And, I think through time, some of that, has taken the edge off. So some of that has been tamed. But some of the very, extroverted, outspoken qualities are still within me because I had 2 very outspoken parents. And it was the age of 19 when I was at a party. And we were at the university campground, had a really good night, and I get a call from one of my sergeants saying, I'm still in the reserves, of course, I have to fulfill 8 years from the moment I enlisted at 17.
Wow.
So 8 years later. And he gave me a call, and I was in my car when I knew who it was, and I was like, shoot, I had to leave that party real quick just to pick up the call. And he's like, look, you need to pack your bags because we're getting mobilized now. Just knew automatically where we were going to go. Knew we were going to head out to the Middle East. So I went to the Middle East. So first I said, I know I'm going back and forth, but 18th birthday, I celebrated my 18th birthday in Fort Benning, Georgia, so in basic training. Wow. And then my 21st birthday was celebrated in Iraq. So I got to celebrate both the most pivotal times, as what a young person would say, in the military, and of course not in necessarily the most ideal places. So, but what I love about it is that war, regardless, thankfully nobody died. One person got hit in the eye with a brick by a child on a mission, and then she had to get her eye reconstructively, had to get surgery 3 times before it could get to 95%. We were truck drivers. The United States Army, it was called an 8 Mike, which in military terms is a truck driver, and we hauled fuel. So we were called bombs on wheels. So we had to obviously for our lives. I didn't have any children. I lived with my parents. I was going to college. I didn't have much to worry about in a sense. But I saw my peers who were older. They were like 5, 10, 15, 20 years older. Kids already, already had one, or have another one who's on the way, and they can't see them and stuff. I have to see all that. Fortunately, we all came back home. But it taught me a very valuable lesson that got me to adult up. I don't want to say man up, but that's a very exclusive term. I really believe that everybody, man, woman, no matter what gender or race, when you get to a certain part of your life, you have to grow. You have to learn
Word.
and the lessons, you know, how I learned were very valuable to where I'm at today, because it helped me to understand the idea of adversity. When adversity comes in front of your way, you just keep going, you know? That's what you learn in the military, and especially my peers taught me that. You know, we used to sleep on top of tankers, on top of trucks. We used to sleep on top of the truck cab. We would bathe for the first 6 months in bottled water because we had running water for coast, like 1930s, like 1800s style, in a bin, you know, with water, you know, put like powdered soap in there and wash it and stuff, hanging up.
Old school.
You know, we eat MREs, which are like packaged foods called meals ready to eat. And you would, you know, this is our lifestyle for 6 months, but that broke me in a lot from the comfort zones that I had, you know, being this 17-year-old, 18-year-old, even 19-year-old, you know, in my comfort, warmth, and, you know, a bed, and mother and stepdad to go back to, and all this wonderful stuff, to now totally extreme, like, you're in a totally separate country where it's hostile, you gotta worry about being blown up or shot at, and you have to really like know how to be resourceful. And it taught me, like I said, a lot of lessons about embracing discomfort, adversity, leadership, and just being resourceful. So I get back 23 years old. You know, I come back home, go to college, start college at Central Connecticut State University, finish off with my bachelor's degree. Right after that, I started working in a psychiatric hospital. I work with children, adolescents, and then of course I work with adults and adult substance abuse and psychiatric. So I work with 4 different units.
Wow.
I did that for about a year. But going back a little bit, 23 years old, I worked in this facility for some time, and then got my own place shortly after I graduated college. And I'm trying to think of the times that happened in between that, because these are the times that were very interesting. I had my daughter in the year of 2009. She's 18 years old, right? That was another thing that taught me another life lesson, that, you know, when life is not going to always straightforward, like, oh, here he's going to get, here he's going to get.
True.
Sometimes it's like, here's going to get, here's going to get, and where you going on this side, on that side. Life slapped me across the face. So my second slap across was having a child unexpectedly. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons to that, but the silver lining of that as well has taught me a lot more about growth and being selfless. You know, and understand once again that life is once again not so clear cut, you know, and you know, separated with my daughter's mother, got back out into the dating world, dated a girl for some time, and we broke up, and that was what devastated me, especially because I really fell in love, but I gave her all, and then somehow, some way, just things didn't work, and so I went to like depression, and I was like that for like. It felt like eternity, but it was like 4 or 5 months. Now that I look back at it, but at that time, what helped me be my friends and peers around me seeing like how much, man, like, dude, you're living this hard, dude. Like, I feel bad for you. Like, I had no clue about anything else. I'm just like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden, a friend of mine gives me a book. Here's this book. I think this might change your life. And it was a book by a Vietnamese Buddhist philosopher by the name of Thich Nhat Hanh. He wrote the book, I Am Here, Discovering the Magic of the Present Moment.
Now I want to dig into that right there.
So much mindfulness, meditation. When my so funny. I'm sorry I'm going back and forth.
Oh no, dig into it. That's exactly what I want you to dig into.
I'm sorry. If you're trying to, I'm looking at. I'm sorry, but this is you on the camera. That's you that I can see talking. You see that?
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at this, I can't even see if you're like interjecting or whatever.
No, keep going. I'm cheering you on.
Let me turn, and also, I gotta turn up the volume because there's a lot of feedback going on whenever I'm talking into the microphone on your head.
Wild. So I wanted to dig into that, actually. Like, I wanted to dig into that book of being here, being present. really kind of understanding, those growth spots where a lot of times we look at leveling up or we look at reaching, out of that dark period that we're in, and we look at it like, oh man, we're in this mud, right? And we don't realize that if we wanted to grow, the whole thing, like it's a process that involves a lot of pain. It's a process that involves ever-changing perspectives. And you touched on it a little bit with the adversity, right? How did that book, in that moment when you got it, how did it help you? And how did that really spark you wanting to share the passion of books with other people?
Yep. So that was the book that was really pivotal. I'll turn on the volume again. That was the book that was very pivotal for me, because here we go. I read this book and I'm just like, holy crap, I'm too busy thinking into the past, too busy thinking into the future, and more importantly, the past things could have been, this relationship, this and that could happen. And I didn't bother looking in the now. I always wanted every quick fix. Like if I didn't get it, like I started worrying. I'm like, man, my suffering's caused because I'm too busy dwelling in the past and future. And so I read this book. I go out to Norway, see my hip-hop friends. I met all these people around the world from MySpace. My MySpace days was when I was uploading regular rap music. Going back again, 14 years old was when I joined the five-man hip-hop group called the Verbal Assassins Click. Fell in love with hip-hop and stuck with it. And even before I went to Iraq and whatnot, I was doing it well with my group, and I was doing it solo. Because of MySpace allowed me to meet people in Norway, go out there, collaborate with them, shows, videos, and stuff like that. And
MySpace.
Norway was awesome, and it got me to really stop and smell the roses. I was very thankful for that because it really got me to stop. And because of the fact that book was so much impact on my life, I was like, dude, I know that there's other areas in my life that I gotta improve on. And I gotta be honest with myself. Because that was the thing too, was that one line I think either a motivational speaker said, or maybe even he must have said. But I was so busy seeing everybody else saying, well, it's because this person does this that I'm like this. Well, it's always the whole helicopter. It goes this way and it always wants to go back out to someone else. And it's like, wait, I'm doing this thing too. I had to change. With that book, it had me step back and really realize that majority of my circumstances are not from the outside. It tells me that still needs to work to be worked on. So I got to read more books. Getting back to reading books again. I mean, I read books for academia, and it also helped personally. But I didn't get the depth that I started getting after reading that book. And it got going online. I was going online. I started reading so much books voraciously that now I started getting to a point where I was like, all right, I gotta save my time. I start seeing like exactly what's out there for good books, what are people doing, and I'm watching people doing reviews on YouTube and whatnot. And real quick, a light bulb came in my head, and I said, just because I love books so much, and at that time when I was depressed, I was seeing a therapist. It was like, dude, it was a veteran therapist. It was like, dude, I've seen through our time, you've been successful here. The one constant, the one thing, or at least one thing that has brought you so much joy and happiness. That really you see yourself so like refreshed, so energetic, and so passionate. Is hip hop. He was like, why don't you go back to writing rhymes? Why don't you do that? And I started getting back into it, and then I started reading books, writing rhymes, starting to rap a little bit here and there. Got tired of the group that I was in because they were getting into too much trouble. They were getting arrested by the cops for drugs and stuff like that. I was like, look at me, I'm going and trying to pursue all these things, but by hanging out with these people, as I always say, the people you hang out with is pretty much a reflection of yourself. And I was like, if I'm going here and everybody's going there, these people are going there. Like, what am I doing? And so I had to take a pause and reflect on myself on what I need to do. And quickly I started cutting people off, started reading more books, started meeting newer and different types of people who were, of course, had their always upward mentality, and like I said, going back to the YouTube videos, I was looking at it and I said, man, wouldn't it be cool if I put my own twist on it? That I've been so so passionate about. And mind you, when I was in college, I was always in people's dorm rooms doing story type rapping. Since I was like 17, 18, I was always doing story type rapping. Always had a concept that I'd hear. And even when I freestyle rap, I always want to keep the story alive. So, like, I mean, you know, of course, I followed you within that, but nevertheless, that was the book that had changed me, and that's where I came in August of 2015, where I made my name Tony Moze, the rhyming book reviewer, who is a man who is, because when you break hip hop down, it's poetry, spoken word, and I don't want to just be classified as one thing. I want to be the person who can do that at all different levels, you know. And of course, things are slowly starting to change now, you know, not from initially starting with hip hop, but I want it to be rhyme over different types of instrumentation or without it, talking about books. So I do book summaries in rhyme form.
Man, you did one recently, and it was for, who's it, Damon John. And that one, like, it really made me think about, all right, cool. You've been doing book reviews on all sorts of books that I've read, you know, all sorts of books that I've probably added to my book list that is now way too long. Maybe I'll knock that down one day. But the thing that I always find is, like, you have this passion for it, right? And you're not afraid to just kind of dig into that passion and let it shine. Like, you have three things going on. And the biggest thing, or the biggest question that I often get is, I'm passionate about these different things, right? I'm passionate about writing, or, you know, videography, or whatever the case is. But, you know, how do I define that thing? And you're really a good example of taking, you know, this idea of, you know, I really enjoy these three elements in life, and where can I, like, put it together? And you didn't force it, right? That's the biggest thing that I think a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives try to do, is like trying to force that creativity. And sometimes, or pretty much all the time, that I'm learning as I watch my daughter grow, is the fact that as you go through life, you start to organically develop this passion, and it starts to steer you. And even though you're looking at that straight path, like you said, you know, that thing is going all twisting, winding, you know, around different valleys and, you know, cliffs and things of that nature. And so as you come and you bring these elements together in this amazing format, you know, one of the things that I'm always curious about is, like, your creative process, or anyone's creative process, right? And how do we make that practical? How do we tell, you know, the person watching this broadcast, or that young person who may stumble across this later, you know, how do you marry those things together and really, really, like, build a career? How do you apply, you know, the principles that you've learned from dealing with adversity? How do you apply, you know, resilience? How do you apply that tenacity, and then still keep, you know, your mindset focused on the bigger picture? How do you execute on all the things that are necessary without going crazy? And how do you level that up? And so I really want to hone in on this piece with you right here and right now, right? Like, how did you take all of those experiences, all that crazy energy, and, you know, really, how do you stay focused each and every day? How do you keep executing and showing up even when you don't feel like it? How do you cross that longest yard?
So this one book was very pivotal to me, and I'll tell you, of course, I make references. Here I am, this guy from academia, like master's degree, and of course, he's being the researcher who extrapolates, takes stuff out of studies and incorporates it into his life. But I really do believe books have been my best mentor, and because, you know, I didn't get that growing up, so getting that from books has helped me, and I want to spread that same light to everybody else. You know, and there's this book called "Start with Why" by Simon Sinek.
Good book.
And this was a recent read, but some of these books that I've read, especially the ones that have been really like my top books, have just been pretty much the books that have made me look back, like, retrospectively, and in hindsight, and go, oh, now I see why this happened. Through all my observations of life, people, places. But the thing with Start With Why, it reminds me why, like people talk about their how, they talk about what they do, they talk about where and when they do it. They don't talk about why. Why is so much more deep than anything else. If one can discover their why and continually asking that question, they get down to the deepest crevice, the foundation of themselves. And because that's the thing. Your values, especially core, you're thinking of your soul, your spirit. Like that's deeply you. And if you can find that, it's almost spiritual. You could find that in yourself, consider it psychologically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. If you could find that core in yourself, it will allow you to keep going regardless, because you know yourself. And like I said, with that book by Thich Nhat Hanh that I read, it allowed me to really delve deeply within myself to the point where I started seeing, okay, now I know why this is happening in my life. Now I know why I'm attracted to this. I know why I'm gravitating toward or have a propensity towards these kinds of people, places, and things. You know, I was blind because I was busy thinking outward versus inward. And that's the thing. Many people are they're too blinded by the shiny objects on the outside, but they forget to look within inside. They can really question themselves. Why did they do what they do? Then they can go. They can go the longest yard. They can face adversity. They can do whatever and not have to worry about falling. Like my why is, I have a daughter and she looks up to me, and I'm trying to build a legacy. I'm trying to build a legacy for my family. You know, I'm trying to show people who look kind of like me or around my kind of aura, if you want to say. AKA minority, black, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it, male, whatever. Who came from a perhaps same situation. Nevertheless, I want people to know that just because they're this doesn't mean they can stay whatever they're sociologically classified as. If they're this sociologically classified, that they can always transcend past that stuff. You know, that's another why. You know, my why is to get people from the inner city, or at least from kids who didn't grow up with a father figure, who didn't have good mentorship, to know that they could get it, at least starting by reading a book. You know, that it will help them once again break past the barriers that society has constrained, put them in and neatly boxed. And like little things like that, and I continue saying why. It's just like Louis C.K. stand-up, if anybody ever saw it, when he talked about his kid, when she said why, that one little skit about why, and she'd be like, why? He goes, it's coming from this, but why? Because it's from the universe, but why? Because, you know, and the kids would ask, why? That it allowed him to really like open his mind up and think of the many possibilities. Is what people need to do too. They need to sit with themselves and really discover their why.
I love that. 100%, because one of the biggest things that, I mean, you know, this is what I focused on this year, was like really digging deep into my why, right? Even with Always Upward, like I took a pause from it where, like, even though it started as me just collecting thoughts and, you know, connecting with people, I didn't really feel like I was connected. I was like, why am I really doing this, right? Like, oh, sure, it's a way to get out creative energy. But then after a while, you realize, like, it helped me realize my creativity. Beyond Always Upward, if it never existed, I would want to create. And I want to create because I believe that design has the ability to help impact communities, help tell stories, help really do a lot of things. And when you abstract design and go into design thinking, and apply concepts of critical thinking, of problem solving in a creative manner, of, you know, looking at both the short term and the long term and analyzing what's going on in your competitive space. Like, being a designer or creative is one of those things that is really, really amazing. And you have that opportunity, and, you know, you touched on this really well, like representation matters. Like, countless times I've done a talk somewhere and I've had a family or, you know, a person come up and they're like, you know, I wasn't expecting to see you up there. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, you know, I just expected, given where we live, like, you know, I would not see a person of color. And I'm like, wow. One of them actually made me tear up. Like, they were thanking my wife, and they're like, when, you know, we were looking at programs for the summer and we saw that you were here with, you know, the girls who code, my daughter was like, oh, I'm interested now. But up until that moment, there was nothing there. And so giving examples, especially positive, practical positivity is my kick, right? Like, it's good to feel good to read a bunch of memes in the morning. But if you're not taking something out of that, or even have the ability to pull value and go in it with something practical, then what's the purpose? You're wasting time on social media. You're wasting time trying to make everyone around you feel good or think that you're actually hustling. But the reality of it is you're just probably sitting around saying, you know what? That person, and you touched on this earlier, right? Like, oh, that person is doing better than I am. Maybe they have something I don't. But when it comes down, it's like you, right? And that choice.
I want to say this here. During these past 2 years, because I started opening my mind up into this whole entrepreneurship mentality, making life for yourself, being yourself for a living, as my boy Alex Zinko said, be yourself for a living. That I'm trying, and of course the whole visualization and where I want to be, what kind of people I want to surround myself with. I'm seeing that a lot on Instagram and social media. People in cars, bikinis, and showing off trips to all these wonderful places and all these quotes, and they're like, and they're picking themselves to be these people who are successful in the sense, not necessarily financially, maybe even just mentally successful, or just mentally successful in whatever aspect. And then you look at them, and then you go behind the scenes on some of them, and you're just really like you're so surprised, because it didn't happen until a friend of mine told me, like, look, they're like, you can continue believing all that stuff, but not everyone is what they crack themselves up to be.
True.
And that person says, what are you talking about? This person says they got a business and they're doing this, or they're traveling here, blah, 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 money. Oh, yeah, really? All right, let's do research. And they would do a little research on them, or you'd actually physically go to these people's places and you'd see where they're living, the conditions. Some of these people are living with their parents, and they're saying, oh, just quit your job. And it's like, oh, just quit your job. And the thing is, what I want to say is, like, sometimes, number one, we got to be realistic, and number two, we can't always believe what everyone else is doing. That's the real problem, because here we are, there's so many people around us that just look so overwhelming on social media, putting up quotes, saying that they're making this much money, blah, 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 blah. And it's make you want to compare, like, well, why am I not there? Like, look at me, I'm only 17 years old. Like a kid, some kid will be like, I'm 13 or I'm 18, and within 6 months I just made this much money. Well, this is not even an ad. They're just doing this on this like social media posts, and I'm just like, man. And like now I'm starting to see through it now. I can't believe everyone.
No.
And yes, like I said, there's some things obviously. Just like you said, like, I'm thinking of like the quotes that you see. Yes, you take it at face value. You don't necessarily go depth and go, oh, because that's the cognitive bias. Because the person who's issuing out those posts, that's look, I'm doing this, or live the life, your turn. It doesn't necessarily equate with an individual, but however you can make it resonate with you.
True.
And so, like, it's just I just want to interject on that. Like, I feel like not everything that glitters is gold.
True that, all right? Like, and this is something I feel like every, person of color parent kind of tells them, is like, hey, you really need to pay attention to what's in front of you, your lane, keep your head down, learn something, make something of yourself. Like, you have to be 4 times better just to get half the respect. And so you really have all these cultural things that are weighing you down, right? And then you have the society outside of it looking at you like, oh, you're that kind of person, or you're from that place, so you can never be this thing, right? And so those quotes, like, oh, I remember a neighbor, and I didn't even realize that he was like a Latin award-winning artist until like much, much later. Most humble guy I've ever met. And we were having a conversation, and he was like, what you need to do is interview a bunch of people. Kind of how this show came about, right? But the thing that really resonated was, he was like, people envy your success, what it looks like you have going on right now, but they will never envy the journey. They will never envy the struggle. They won't envy the nights when you were up alone, putting in that time. Everybody else was doubting you, saying you wouldn't do it. They weren't, they won't envy any of those things, but they'll only envy the end product, essentially. And so, I mean, as I kind of went back and started applying, always upward in a whole different light to my life, right? And saying, if I'm really aiming always upward, I'm not going to get there alone. There's going to be people around me, like no true successful person. Like when you listen to the stories of Richard Branson, Elon Musk, you know, even back in the day, people like Einstein, like there were a bunch of people around him that helped make that invention and all his inventions possible. So whenever I hear you, oh, I did it all by myself, I kind of chuckle inside because I'm like, you know, I didn't quite realize that the sky kind of parted, the sun is shining down on you, and you're this godsend that's going to lead us to the promised land of entrepreneurship or whatever, right? And so those are the things that, you know, when we connected, it was just kind of like, all right, cool. You know, here's a person that's passionate about something. Here's a person that has found a way to meld all of their creative arts together in something that helps people. And as we kind of round it out, I'm going to put you on the spot. So I hope you're prepared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I know freestyling, you're definitely prepared.
Sure.
I'm not prepared. I wanted to throw a hot 16 with you, but this is not my lane. But here's what I want, right? I want to know, what does always upward mean to you? But I want you to freestyle.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Oh, my. Always upward means going up to the sky. I mean, this is something that you can go high. Maybe if you think you can just fly without wings, do you think it's always upward? I could just say, man, upwards. Yeah, take the F word out. Doesn't matter. Yo, let me tell you what it's about. Always upward. David Yarde gives you the longest yard. Doesn't matter. Make sure you're always just going hard, because that's what it is when you're always going upwards. Once again, you have to have tough nerves. So always upwards is adversity. It doesn't matter once you go to a university, how I disperse these trees and kick it in a 16. Doesn't matter on the beams. Always upward. Hashtag. It doesn't matter even if it raps bad. Always upward. Use tenacity. Doesn't matter going high without gravity. I don't even know. Spit it with the even flow, but even though always upwards on my mind. Once again, I spit a rhyme for BY. Say it again. Fly high. Always upward.
Bro. All right. So that's pretty dope. All right. So that's definitely what's up. So I want to know, how do people find you online? Like, are you on Instagram? Are you on Twitter? Like, where are you sharing all these books and knowledge with people?
So I'm gonna give you a list. So
all right,
this can be just recorded audio and video. But here it is. Because I want to be everywhere that one person. I want to be everywhere where everyone's comfortable. But be the truth. Not everyone wants to go on this medium, that medium. I want to provide it in the way that I can give content to people wherever they're comfortable at. Because, I mean, no offense, most people are comfortable and they like staying wherever they like to stay in their own lane. Hey, whatever. And so therefore, my job is to provide those people, you know? So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I just got a podcast show on iTunes, YouTube, have my website. SoundCloud, Periscope. I was just on an interview on Periscope. Have my Periscope. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Tony TONY _ Moze, M as in Mike, E as in zebra, E as in echo, Tony _ Moze. You can find me on my website, TonyMoze.com. You can find me on my podcast as well. Put in Tony Moze for iTunes. I'm on SoundCloud.com / Tony-Moze. What else is there? I mean, you can find me on Goodreads if you want to check out all the reads that I have. If you have the Goodreads app, so we can see like what I have read, what I am reading, and what I want to read. Hoping about that. I believe my goals and stuff like that. How many books I've read already within the year, and if people want to be part of that whole challenge as well, they can challenge themselves by going to the Goodreads app and seeing how many books they can find themselves reading within a year. You know, so I had my bar set. I think we did last year for 40. I know I beat that. I think this year has to be set for 70. Because I got 40 in a year, then I know I do it. I did that like almost towards like the beginning to like June. So if I cleared 40 and then I just started posting on other books, I know I read more. But yeah, you can find me there. YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, podcast, SoundCloud, my website, once again, TonyMoze.com. Tony Moze.
Like Visa, man, everywhere you want to be. So we dropped some of those links in the little like description there below. So people will be able to find you, connect with you, learn more about what's going on. I kind of feel like this is part one because we touched the iceberg of like a lot of things. And now we got to do like part two. But that's going to be coming up here soon. But before we round out, I want to say, what is one piece of advice you want someone to apply? We're ending the year. We're about to start a new one at the end of this weekend. Like, what's that one thing you want someone to take away?
Okay. So we're on the idea of creativity. You and I are creative individuals in the realm we're in, and I think people who are listening are also other potential perspective or actual creative people. And I want them to know that, number one, talent is never enough. Talent is never enough. And if you want to go far, you need to start with the foundation of that, and that has to be belief. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your mission, your vision. You have to believe how far you can go, because without that, you won't be able to do the other 12 things that is needed to be talented. So understand that talent is never enough, and more importantly, you have to believe in yourself.
Right on, right on. Tony, thank you, man. Like, I know we threw things together kind of sudden, but I just wanted to say thank you for just aiming always upward, number one, staying true to yourself, because that helps keep things true with everyone else that we've been interacting with. And I just really want to thank you for, of course, serving this country as well. But as we go forward, I just want to say, man, I hope that 2018 is filled with massive blessings for you, massive blessings for our audience. Thank you for joining me, and I'm looking forward to part two of our interview, where we get a little bit more into just what it means to really, really create. So yeah, man, thank you.
David, I appreciate it once again. Thank you very much for having me on the show. And of course, much prosperity for you in 2018. And I know that we're going to be creating something big.
Yes, sir. Guys, this was episode 2. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in episode 3. Enjoy the New Year weekend. Be safe. Be happy. Tell someone that you love them. Tell someone that you actually care about their existence. Just create more good. Create the good this world needs to feel. And don't stop aiming upward. Until next time, keep aiming always upward, and see you guys soon.